addressed the first sound I played. He addressed the rate of depreciation of the Ghana cedi, which has been alarming in the past few weeks, and then he made the big reveal of the day yesterday, which was the reduction of benchmark levies on imported products. Commodities 50%, cars 30%. In the studio with me, Mame Dakwa Winado and Northern Aqua Hayford. We're also just joined by the resident fact checker, Raymond Aqua. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
And Raymond, good morning.
Good morning, yeah.
It's been a while since I heard a thunderous good morning. So Raymond is here to help us do some fact-checking on Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We'll come to him in a moment, but let me take initial thoughts from Mame. Do we want to start from the Ghana cedi or the benchmark value? Okay, let me take your general thoughts on yesterday so that we can order it. Okay, generally on yesterday in a minute. What do you think?
Generally speaking, obviously the Vice President had to speak in terms of, economic growth. There is economic growth, but economic growth is always automatic. But the big question is there economic development? And I think that was one thing that I was missing. I think was missing in yesterday's talk. I wanted to see more of. And so, this is something that I would want to touch on today in discussion.
Okay.
So,
if I were to ask you what stood out for you yesterday, what would you say?
Well, the two major things I would say would be the comment on the exchange rate, and then also about the import duties, because that part shook me a bit. Made me realize that I wonder if Ghana, we are moving forward or moving backwards, because...
Which comes back to the economic development question you were raising. I want you to explain a bit more of that. But Northern, what stood out for you? What are your general thoughts?
I think that as journalists who have been practicing, the cedi statements stood out for me, and then also, just as Mami did say, the port reductions that came was also something that, I was like, okay, wow, all right. These are things that clearly you say that were statements that was supposed to help calm certain tensions that were brewing when it comes to the port area, when it comes to, the cedi, and the fact that we've said, if we need to fix the economy, we must also fix the exchange rate and the way it hits our cedi, which keeps dancing around us. I'll put it all the time.
Okay. So in a way, it's related to what Mame also observed. Raymond, initial comments before we go to the nitty-gritties of the fact-checking.
Okay, so I was impressed with the port reduction thing. Have you tried getting a car from anywhere in the world? And the interesting part is that this was... And the benchmark thing was a policy someone introduced in 2016, implemented 2017. We were complaining about why would you want to do something like that. They say, there's a problem with basic trust. That people were, if Northern went to buy a car and the car cost 15,000, he would get somebody to give him an invoice or something. A receipt that said that the car was 2,500. Cars that had no problems were being classified as, accidented cars. So there needed to be some form of streamlining. And that action was that we would look at the international market, look at how this car, if it was actually made in 2012, fast forward 2018, how much is it supposed to be sold? Then use that, determine your charges based on that value, and not what you came to tell us, with or without your receipt in this particular case. So it created some problems because people felt that, if I made an arrangement and I got a car for $500, which was supposed to be $45,000, my intent was to pay those taxes on the $500 and not necessarily on $45,000. So it became a bit problematic. Now, the $45,000, if it's for cars, would have 30% off. And if it's for other goods, the other ones, it will have 50% off. That's the interesting part. For the people who deal in that space, and for people who have long wanted to import things like your very good self, you'll be impressed with...
done to you this morning, Raymond? You haven't seen me in a while, so you want to attack.
You'll be impressed with this particular policy, even if it sounds like very small to you. If your intent is that, why don't you then take out the benchmark system in the first place, which will resolve the problem? But we're also looking at, one, revenue. We've been on the GRA to make sure that they always meet revenue.
Yes.
Then, when you introduce this, two things. You are banking on the hope that people will import more. And people import more, it floods your economy. It has rippling effect on other indicators too. But if your only intent is, when people are importing more, you are likely to get more revenue in this particular case. How about people who don't necessarily import more? And the impact is not immediate because people may take time, months, to actually say that, okay, let me gather this amount of money to go and do this and all of that. So, well, it's an interesting policy.
It is an interesting policy.
It's a very bold one.
You know what? There's the timing of that policy, Raymond, because it's 2 days after we ended the IMF program.
Yeah.
Now, during the IMF program, we were under a lot of pressure to raise revenue and to meet our targets.
Yes.
So 2 days after the IMF program, when we are talking about responsible fiscal management, we are talking about making sure that everything is stable, we slash and port revenue is one of the key sources of revenue. But anyway, let me. I'll come back to you with that one. But Mami, you were explaining the point about economic growth versus economic development. I'm curious about that.
So obviously, I feel like with the state ones, there's they say, well, to measure your economic growth, you're looking at the increase in products and services that are being rendered. But the big question now comes into what is development? And economic growth just looks at in terms of the qualitative, not the quantitative measurement. And so the quality of people's lives changing. So if you think about it, the healthcare system, are people able to afford housing, per capita income? So how do you measure development? You look at the HDI, the Human Development Index. And if you look at Ghana over the period of years from 1990, when that measurement was introduced, to 2017, it's only been improved by 30%. And so even though we are considered to be in the, what would you call the medium, countries within the medium range, we are like 140 out of 189. The big question that I think we're not asking between political parties, whether it's NDC or MPP, is the country developing? Growth is automatic. Development is not. And so when there's government expenditure, there will be growth. When there's investment happening. I was looking at an example, just take it that you have a factory in a village and then it wasn't producing much. So you bring in a foreign investor and then now he pumps in money and now you're producing more, you've employed more people. But he's producing he's producing to send it out, right? Now the question is that, yes, you see that, okay, the economy is growing because you're producing more, you've employed more people. The big question, are they being paid better? Is the big question you have to ask yourself, even though you've employed more people. And then what is the price of goods that are on the market? That are people able to afford a better standard of living? And I think that as we're not asking that big question. And then I was even looking at the currency. So let's just say, for example, the dollar is now 3 cedis, right? And yay! But what is 3 cedis worth? Are we looking at what the value of 3 cedis is? What's the value of 5 cedis in Ghana? Because minimum wage in Ghana is what? 10 point something cedis a day. So now, if you're looking at the dollar and you're excited about whether the dollar, the exchange rate is great or not, what is the value of your money in terms of people's even purchasing power? We don't calculate these things. I think we just get excited over these.
So it's Novan. What Mami is telling us.
Novan, it's interesting to note that the same 0.59 value of the HDI for 2017 is the same one we had for 2016. The same one we had for 2015. So when you take the last 3 years, we've had the same Human Development Index value for this country. What does it tell you? Not so much progress has been made, and we've not declined too. We've basically remained where we were in this particular case. As to whether that is an indication that the things that we purport we've done over the period to improve the lives of the people has not really reflected in the lives of people, or it will take a longer period for it to reflect in the lives. That's the difference.
What makes up, for the sake of our listeners, what are the things that make up the Human Development Index? Why should we be looking at that? In just a second, I want you to check that for me. Whilst or you want to do that right now?
First, there's a social index that talks about the services you get in terms of, so for example, if you have a very high, mortality rate, if you also have child mortality, maternal mortality, all of those matter. The access to health services, education also matter. So it's a more comprehensive determination of what you should look at. What your development has been over the period.
I'm going to take, Norman, before I come to you, I'm going to take the thoughts of, he's joining the discussion really. Professor Bokpin is an economist and professor of economics at the University of Ghana and a fellow at Imani Ghana. Prof, I'm getting some feedback from the other end of the line, so if you can turn off the radio. But good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and good morning to your cherished listeners.
Yes. So you began this conversation with us yesterday, really, when you looked at, when you analyze it from various angles. But we've gotten to the point of the discussion where we are looking at whether what we are calling economic growth is really economic development in terms of the life of the human being, for instance.
Thank you very much. I think that is an interesting question, and that is what I believe should engage our attention. Growth, economic growth is different from economic development. You can also look at the quality of that growth and whether that growth is broad-based and whether that growth is inclusive. We have seen growth in this country that we cannot celebrate. The reason I'm saying we cannot celebrate that growth is that it is not growth that is driven by the labor-intensive subsectors of the economy. So if you find yourself in a certain sector and that sector is doing well, then it means that the players in that sector are also doing well. But that is not the case in Ghana here. When you look at the growth in 2017, it was driven largely by hydrocarbon production, oil and gas, and then the pickup in the mining. Okay, so the non-oil real sector really hasn't done well. We haven't made enough progress from that end. It's the same thing we saw in 2018. The understanding is that growth is only broad-based, growth is only sustainable if it is inclusive. It is inclusive to the extent that growth is driven by the intensive subsectors of the economy. The hydrocarbon sector doesn't employ a lot of people. So the reality is that this growth may not translate to let's say, critical human development because it is not growth that came along with job creation. We have experienced jobless growth, driven largely by hydrocarbon production. Look, this is also increasing inequality in Ghana here. Let me tell you how it happens. So when you look at the growth generation, the input, one is labor. Labor is supplied largely by the locals, Ghanaians, but capital is supplied hugely by foreign investors. Over the last couple of decades, the return on labor, in terms of what labor gets in exchange for their service, is far lower than what the return on capital has been. And the capital is provided by foreign investors. So they are picking a bigger gain whilst we are picking a smaller gain. So the growth is recorded here, but the growth is not resident in this country. Look, a good way of putting this is to say that found enough fufu for others to go and eat. There are those who are actually eating the fufu outside. If you look at those who have invested hugely in this economy, both at the private sector level and then at the national level, they are picking the gains. And that is where the problem is. So if we can drive growth from the intensive labor sectors of the economy, so for instance, agriculture and along the value chain, when you see that agriculture and along the value chain is doing very well, then we know that sector is employing a lot of Ghanaians. When you see that manufacturing is doing well, then you know that sector will be employing a lot of Ghanaians. When you see that real estate, so I think we have seen some growth, but it's not growth that we can celebrate. We want to be able to ask ourselves that how do we engineer growth from the labor-intensive subsectors of the economy so that those sectors, because you see, nobody sets up a company to employ people. No. Nobody sets up a business because they want to generate jobs. It's never the ultimate. People set up businesses to make money, to make profit. When they see the need to make more profit, when there are opportunities for them to make more profit by expanding their business, that is when they signal to the labor market. A good example you can find in the Bible. Bible says that when Christ had made the disciples fishers of men, they stopped and went fishing throughout the night. And Bible says that they got nothing. As long as they got nothing, they never signaled to the labor market. Then they met the chief executive of their new company, call it Salvation. Then he told them the right thing to do. And when they did, Bible says that they got so much fish that they couldn't pull it. Then what did they do? They now signal to the labor market for people to come and help them. That is how businesses operate. So when businesses see the need to expand and make more profit, they will hand over appointment letters to people. Then people exiting universities, tertiary, technical, whatever, will then get jobs. But we are not seeing that in this country. And that is our problem that we have to be able to address. Let me put it this way. if we want to compare ourselves to the previous government, this government will always find space to do more town hall meetings, because the statistics suggest that if you do regime comparison, they are ahead of the previous government. But the problem for Ghana today is not that we are doing better than the previous government, that we are going far below our potential. And that should be a proper benchmark than the previous government. But of course, a typical politician would want to kill two birds with one stone, because the opposition had taken them on. They actually said the depreciation had actually imprisoned the vice president and all of that. So once they get the opportunity, they want to respond. But the reality is that we are growing far below our potential. Our output gap, negative, we have to be able to close it. How do we close it? I think that level of objectivity, seeking the common good, should be the ultimate, rather than maybe comparing ourselves to this and that and all of that. Because the reality on the ground is that the fundamentals have improved. You cannot take that away from this government. The statistics are there to tell you. But beyond the fundamentals the vice president talked about, we should be concerned about the local content in all of that. You see, good enough, the vice president talked about trade balance being positive. That is a fact. In fact, trade balance for 2017 was around $1.1 billion. 2018, trade balance was positive to the tune of $1.5 billion. But the betrayal, you can see it. You see, theoretically, when your trade balance is positive, theoretically, it should contribute to the strengthening of the local currency, holding other factors constant. Okay? But the reason the cedi hasn't been strengthening consistent with that theory, you can see the betrayal in the services and income accounts, where we recorded huge deficits. So 2018, while trade balance was positive to the tune of 1.5 billion, the services and income account was negative to the tune of over $6 billion. And ultimately, the cedi will take a dip, because you can narrow all the discussion to demand and supply dynamics. And of course, the vice president knows that. These are the issues. But I think that this government should be telling us, why have they shifted their position from what they had when they were in opposition, about shifting the economic dynamics from taxation to production? What has happened? What has happened with exemptions that they said they will be able to streamline? Because in 2017, they actually gave more exemptions. Look, the president during the State of the Nation address acknowledged that Ghana is losing so much through exemptions. He gave us a conservative figure. But when you add exemptions, trade misinvoicing, corruption and other things, this country is losing close to 7% of GDP. If we are able to close these leakages, then there will be no need for us to borrow excessively the way we are doing. That's the reality. I take consolation in the fact that an exemption bill has gone to Parliament. To be very honest with you, I haven't seen the content of the document. I'm just hoping that through this we'll be able to plug the loopholes. Because other estimates have shown that Ghana loses about $2.27 billion annually through tax exemptions alone. Exemptions alone. How much did we borrow by way of the Eurobond? Was it not 3 billion? But if you have lost 2.27 billion through exemptions and you go and take 3 billion, just look at it in that way. So there's so much that we can save by by closing up on those leakages. Then we rely less on debt financing. Because look, whether we like it or not, we saw the depreciation that we saw in the within March, especially because of also the debt management strategy that we developed in 2015. What was the strategy? And I think government now should take another look at the way we have operationalized our debt management strategy. What was the issue? So we said that once you run a budget deficit, and you finance it through the domestic market, you are going to crowd out the private sector. We didn't want to crowd out the private sector. So we decided to do cedi issue, but open it up to foreign investors through the book building process. This is what has also exposed us. So we have foreign investors who have participated hugely in our debt stock. Okay, and these people can speculate and even hold us to ransom. And that is what we saw happening. So look, and then look at the real effect of that. In the 2019 budget, we set aside 18.6 billion cedis just to service our debt in the form of interest, coupons, and all of that. Assuming these investors want to externalize even half of that amount, they will be demanding dollars, whether we like it or not. So our debt composition, and the way we have operationalized it, is also part of why we are seeing that kind of instability in the foreign exchange market.
The Vice President also insists that the currency depreciation we are seeing is as a result of the IMF conditions, which prevented us from taking any of our net international reserves and injecting them locally. Yes,
I agree with him. I mean, it was one of the last-minute indicators that they brought because, look, the IMF had made a lot of concessions to enable us pass these exams. They showed us the questions we're going to write. They even showed us how to answer it, and they helped us to mark it also. That is how come we exited the program. It was a convenient arrangement largely. Because when you look at the program targets, structural benchmarks, indicative targets, we couldn't meet all of them. And it's not peculiar to this government alone. Since April 2015, when the program was approved, all the reviews that we have gone through, we passed because they passed us. Because we had to submit requests for waivers here and there, and then they sat through and then considered that, okay, these are good waivers. Of course, all those targets were based on certain assumptions. Those assumptions sometimes did not last more than an hour. So they review all of that. So in order to exit, they brought one of these that let our international reserves be at the level, at a certain level. And that constrained the central bank from dipping its hands into the international reserves to be able to show up the stability of the cedi. Because it's a common practice all over the world for countries that have switched from the fixed exchange rate regime to the floating or managed floating exchange rate regime. So the central bank usually come onto the market occasionally to buy dollar or sell dollar on its own account in order to steer the volatility within a certain band that they consider acceptable. So they could have done that. And given what this government had said when they were in opposition, so it was a bit strange, right, that they would allow the cedi to take such a deep haircut, given what they had said. So he has told us why they were constrained. They would have burned the depreciation through our reserves anyway. But would that be a good practice? For how long? I think once they have done this, we should be able to accommodate a certain level of the depreciation of the cedi, because the fundamentals, even though they have improved, they are not so strong enough to actually withstand shocks from the external environment or from speculation or so. That is also the fact. So the Vice President talked about the other reasons why the cedi could depreciate apart from the fundamentals. But the reality is that when your fundamentals are much stronger, you are able to withstand these shocks, whether external or internal. So, but we are not there yet. We don't have fundamentals that are strong enough to withstand shocks within a certain band that we can accommodate. And I think we need to improve on our game going forward.
I'm glad you mentioned the point of our owning our economy, and the issue that the NPP raised in running into the 2016 election really was our owning the economy, our having more factories, moving from taxation to production. The Vice President sort of repeated to an extent what the Finance Minister said, very similar to what the Finance Minister said during the 2019 budget reading. 79 factories at various stages of completion. He added that 35 have been approved for an appraisal. What do you make of our pace of delivery of these projects?
Yeah, so I was a bit let me say surprised because at what various stages? I think that there's the need for greater clarity in terms of government performance in those areas than they have given us. It's very, very important. We need to know if you say stages, 70%, 100%, how soon. But let's also look beyond that and talk about how the government is creating the enabling environment for businesses to thrive on their own. In a private sector-led economic growth, you want to be able to guarantee the necessary macroeconomic environment, infrastructure investment that guarantees private sector growth beyond state interventions. Look, let me tell you. You see, I have doubt about the sustainability of many of these 1D, 1F, and all of that, because we know that in this country, businesses rise and collapse with governments. During the MPP government, I think from 2001 or so, we talked about the presidential special initiative and all of that, starch factory and all of that. Where are they today? Where is the sugar factory President Mahama talked about? Where are those specific interventions? So that is fine. But broadly, let the market pick the winners and let the market dwarf the losers. Let's think about, in addition, creating the necessary business-friendly environment that allows businesses to thrive. Let's give back to businesses now, because in the future they will give back to us by way of more taxes and also employment generation and higher taxes. That is the way we should go. I think we haven't seen much of that now, but of course, 2 years is also so short to say we should be able to address all those challenges. We really have problems. Many of the things that we are asking government to do, it will require money. Where is the money? My brother, the truth of the matter is that there is no money. There is no money in government coffers. It's as simple as that. When you pick how much we generate by way of tax revenue, just 2 line items take almost 90% of that, or more than 90%, debt servicing, and then wages and salaries. As we speak right now, Ghana is a record holder in the sub-Saharan Africa when it comes to the country that spends the highest proportion of its tax revenue just to service its debt. Ghana is a record holder. That is not a record you want to celebrate. That you are spending far more of your tax revenue to service your debt than any other country in the sub-region is not a memorable thing. So that is something that we have to be able to address. We can address that through debt management, but we can also address that by scaling up our tax revenue. Because our theoretical tax frontier is very high, but our current tax effort is very low. So we have a gap that we can close.
But how do we close this gap?
To be able to close that gap, we have to look at the exemptions. Look, let me tell you one of the things that happen in this country. Ministry of Finance perhaps would agree with Ghana Revenue Authority in terms of what the targets are for the year. Then the ministry will pass their back and go and approve exemptions for some multinationals. Exemptions. Those exemptions have not been properly streamlined, and they even make foreign firms more competitive than local firms who don't qualify for these exemptions. That's the reality. Apart from the exemptions, we are also talking about trade misinvoicing. We are also talking about illicit financial flows underlined by the underground economy. These are weightier matters that will engage our attention, if you ask me, because one of the basic functions of the state is to collect taxes. A country that is unable to collect sufficient taxes cannot grow. And if it wants to grow, then it will have to borrow excessively. And remember that the rate at which you borrow also has implications for productivity growth in the economy. So if you are borrowing at 8-point-something% dollar denominated, 19-point-something%, remember, it will dwarf your productivity growth. But that is very obvious.
How does it dwarf that? Let's have that broken down for us.
So you see, it's a cost. It's cost to you. So if you look at, let's come home, okay, and let's take the 2019 budget. So by way of tax revenue, we are hoping to generate 45 billion cedis. A little above 45 billion cedis. How the true intention of government, you can judge it from the allocation function in the budget, resource allocation. How are we allocating this? Okay, you have more than 23 billion cedis. From that 45 billion tax revenue you are hoping to generate, going to wages and salaries, gratuities, and all of that. The next biggest item in government allocation function is actually debt servicing, 18.6 billion cedis, right? Far more than we are allocating to capital spending. Capital spending is just a little above 8 billion. A country that is not making sufficient allocation towards capital expenditure is not preparing for tomorrow.
Okay.
It's running down 8 assets, you cannot maintain it. You are imposing further restrictions on the growth drivers of the economy. There is no way you can be competitive. Look, if you look at what people go through, the traffic, the hours people spend in traffic just to get to work, it's not sustainable. Look, people wake up 3 a.m. just to go to work. It's as though they are meeting the Lord Jesus Christ today. That is unacceptable. The health cost and the productivity losses as a result of potholes, as a result of long hours in traffic, don't underestimate it. It will show up in your productivity growth. That's a fact. In this country, there are some potholes that no matter how skillful you are, you cannot miss both. They are arranged in such a way that you can't miss both. Have to slow down. It's as simple as that. These are the realities. We have not been able to open up our economy. Okay, why can't we network the 10 or now 16 regions of this country by way of rail and open up the economy? Okay, and make agriculture attractive. Because we are allocating far less to capital spending, we have huge infrastructure deficits that is holding back the growth of this country.
But we are at the cusp of a huge capital injection of $2 billion with this Sino-Hydro deal.
Yeah, it's not enough. It's not sufficient. The question is that even apart from that, my brother, when we are allocating this to that, the level of inefficiency in our public investment management is extremely unacceptable. The problem is sometimes not that we are not investing. Even with what we say we are investing, okay, it is costing us to do a runway than it will cost somebody to build a whole airport. What is the level of efficiency in that investment? The capital budgeting process, without exploring greater efficiency, we will not make progress. Project overvaluation, contract overvaluation, and all of that. A country with a binding fiscal constraint can accommodate that level of inefficiency in investment is unacceptable.
Professor Bokpin, thank you very much. We have not finished with you, so we'll come back to you very shortly, particularly on this issue of a bipartisan committee and the work that has been done for them already, because the Vice President seems to know exactly what went wrong with the Ghana City. Even though the Finance Minister has called for a bipartisan committee. Northern, I was on you. So, okay, if you just tune in, this is the Super Morning Show. It's a few minutes to the top of the hour. Professor Godfred Bokpin just joined us. He's a professor of finance and an economist. He told us, first of all, agreeing with the fact that we need to grow economically. We need to develop economically. Look at what our growth figures mean for the individual. Then he related it to the sectors of our economy where we are going. We need to be going in issues in places like farming and building more factories, which will create jobs locally, which will help us own our economy so that the monies that are made are not sent back out. He made an interesting point about how tax exemptions are taking a loss from us. 2.27 billion in tax exemptions in 2018, when indeed we are borrowing 3 billion on a Eurobond. So it means that the money that we are giving away as taxes is almost equal to what we are paying. Another interesting point, almost 18 billion being paid in terms of interest on loans, debt servicing. Ghana carrying a record in Africa for paying the most when it comes to debt servicing in a year. And there's also wages which are swallowing up our tax revenue, showing that there is a way that we are taxing that is not being done well. No, but in the face of those figures, we are still cutting benchmark values at the ports by 50%.
When it comes to this benchmark values, I mean, we need to situate it in context and then try to let people understand. One of the issues that we have faced over the period, I think we've said it since yesterday, is the fact that, and Raymond just also alluded to it, that, importers and clearing agents have never been honest in terms of when they have to declare how much they bought their products. And so then the government feels that, look, if you are going to be under declaring, then what we have to do is to agree on certain things. So let's go ahead and benchmark, which sometimes could go against you as an importer, which means that if you actually bought a bottle of water for 2 cedis, you come and the benchmark value has been put at 4 cedis, you're going to be paying more. So it's a 50-50 thing. Or you could buy it and then you come and the benchmark value will save you some money, depending on whichever way it goes. what it is that let's all remember that the
No,
import
but if your
duty.
value is above the benchmark value, they take your value. Yesterday, I was listening
Well,
to
that
Dr.
is
Joseph
that is what they would do. But
They take your value.
normally, would people bring values that are above?
Oh, well, that's
the argument. Now, the import duty on each product or any container or anything you bring into this country is 20% of the value of what you are bringing in, excluding the other cost build-up, that is the NHIS, the Strait Levy, ECOWAS, AU, that 18 of them that also add up to your import value too, so that you can pay. So that 20%, that's how much you're supposed to be paying. Now, if the government looks at it and says, look, volumes would increase your revenue, because if over the period, now just last year, you look at Togo having increased their imports or the volumes that are coming in there by 300%, and then you look at the same with containers, and you're looking at the number of containers that are coming into Ghana, which went up just by 4%. That is something that you want to have a look at again. And then you go back and you check and you realize that, okay, in 2016, we did something. That is probably what is costing us today. And so people feel that let's now go to Togo, which used to be a free port, and then go and do what we have to do there. And so we say, okay, let's cut. So it's not that they're even scrapping the benchmarking. They're only saying that we're reducing that by 50%. So if you brought in a container and then the value, the benchmark value, they said it's 100,000. Now they're saying instead of paying the 100,000, 20% on 100,000, you're going to be paying 20% on a 50,000. That is what they're saying. You might say that it's not good, but in the long run, if the volumes go up, we are hoping, and that's their hope as a government, if the volumes go up, that will help them as a people.
I wonder what data informed this decision.
No, that's why they said the research that they did by going into Togo and then checking other African countries.
I was speaking to Dr. Gideon Boakun yesterday, and he was talking about how he himself went to Togo to go and look at what is going on. I'm talking about data. I'm talking about 100,000 people going here, and our numbers dropping by this figure. That's what I'm asking.
Let me use when fuel prices drop, or when they go up. The last time we saw the last window when the prices went up, they were all around 5 cedis 18 pesos, and then it went up to 5 cedis 24 pesos. Goil decided to stay at the 18 pesos. That's 5 cedis 18 pesos. Whilst you had the other companies, going up to the 24 pesos. That's 5 cedis 24 pesos. Today, go back and check. Now all the other companies have dropped again to the same 5 cedis 18 pesos and 5 cedis 16 pesos as Goil, because Goil knew that volumes, because now people have become very savvy and they know, okay, so 5 cedis 18 pesos.
If I can get it for less here.
Yeah, I can get it for less. So volumes will definitely drive your revenues to go up, and that's what they are hoping, guys, that it will help them do that.
Nova, we are enjoying this conversation way too much. We need to take a few messages, and when we come back, I'll go straight to Raymond to start with fact checking, and then we'll go back to Prof and Mami and Novana here for some more analysis. Stay with us. This is Super Morning Show. It's 3 minutes past 9. I have some reactions to Prof's message, to Prof's submission. You did not add your name, did you? He says, kindly remind your speaker that's exactly why tax digitization is being rolled out. Citizens must also take personal responsibility in paying their taxes. Interesting input there. We'll take these messages. We'll be back. Stay with us.
It's a new day. I want you to first think big, not small. Think of how great we can be when we work together. Together, we can ensure that our hard work will provide a better future. Together, we can provide a foundation for you and your business to succeed, regardless of its size. Together, we can create opportunities for all. Bank with us today and let's journey forward together. Forward together. Cowbank, forward together.
Bibiara wa melkom Luciano le melkom Nofiano ye melkom. What are you looking for? Melkom got it all. Great discount, dodo. Yamafia so. Best bargains on our days. Everything here is a bargain. High quality, goods be a priority. So tell your mom, tell Poppy, tell your actually everybody.
Picture this. Beaches with red, black and white pebbles, stunning sunset views and whitewashed houses. That is what you see when you picture the perfect Greek island, Santorini. And guess what? Adansi Travels and Joy 99.7 FM is giving you an opportunity of a lifetime to experience Santorini, which has been voted one of the most beautiful islands in the world. Join me, Araba Kumsin, for the 8th edition of the Discover the World Tour series from the 21st to the 31st May 2019. You'll not only discover Santorini, but also get to see and feel Athens, the historical capital of Europe. And that's not all. We'll also have a 4-night stopover in Istanbul, where you'll have fun at the Violent theme park and a guided shopping tour to bring home the best goodies of Europe. The best part of this, it's so affordable. It's only $2,990 per person, and this covers return flights, accommodation, visa support, meals, tours, and so much more. Visit www.adansitravels.com to register or pick a form at the Joy FM front desk. Call Adansi Travels now at 055-631-0404 or 024-360-6648 to book. Give yourself that well-needed break and join me as we discover Greece and Turkey. It's gonna be a holiday.
At Afrodan, we believe that many of the problems people have with their health is as a result of the way they sit. In other words, your chair can kill you. Here's Dr. Marcus Mann of the Chiropractic and Wellness Center.
What you have to remember is that the spine is the lifeline to your body, and posture is the window to that spine. Now, posture is affected by your daily activities and habits like sitting. That's why at the Chiropractic and Wellness Centers, we recommend what I believe to be the best chairs available for preventing not only subluxations, but also other health problems that you may not be aware of. And that's Rabami and Mobilex chairs. Unfortunately, on a daily basis, I have to correct the effects of this poor sitting habit in our businessmen and businesswomen. Always remember, optimal spine equals optimum health.
So, for the sake of your health, buy Rabami or Mobilex chairs from Afrodan. We're on the first floor of the Swansea Shopping Arcade. Telephone 663-085.
Hey, Kwame, what's up here?
My brother, my wife has been diagnosed with cancer.
What?
My brother is here with kidney disease too.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the World Health Organization estimates that over 16,000 new cases of cancers are diagnosed annually in Ghana, and kidney diseases account for 10% of all medical admissions to Kolebu?
But thanks to Glyco-Critical Illness Plan, GSIP, I have spent over 20,000 Ghana cedis on my younger brother's disease. Yeah. What is GSIP?
Glyco-Critical Illness Plan, GSIP, provides you with financial support when diagnosed with any critical illness or dread disease such as cancers, strokes, kidney failures. Speak to GlycoLife today on 0302-218-500 for your GSIP policy. It is definitely in our interest to survive. GlycoLife, we cushion you for life.
Welcome to South Africa, your own personal playground.
Welcome to the Cape Winelands.
Welcome to Johannesburg.
Welcome to Shaka Marine World.
Welcome to Canal Walk.
Welcome to the Nelson Mandela Capture Site.
Welcome to
the Cape Town Jazz Festival.
Welcome to the Midlands.
Welcome to Maboneng. Welcome to East London. Welcome to God's Window.
With 54 million welcoming South Africans, all eager to make your holiday that much more inviting, allow us to indulge you with all our favorite sights and sounds. Visit SouthAfrica.net to discover more. South Africa, inspiring new ways.
I am Dr. Acacia. Acacia gives your workers the best customer service and treatment options when the need arises, keeping them healthier and more productive for your business. Acacia Health Insurance. We place value on those you value.
Wow,
yeah.
Shandonia Garden is massive. Hey, what's that over there?
It's a plant tennis court, swimming pool, and a gym coming soon.
And the houses, unique in their own way.
Okay, darling, wait till you see ours.
What?
Why?
Wait.
Now tell me, what do you think?
Oh, just so serene. Thank you. I love you.
Visit our luxurious gated community at Shandonia Garden off the Tema Highway. Our lands are fully titled and litigation-free with flexible payment plans you can afford. So let us bring you to Shandonia Gardens, where your dream lands. Contact us today on 0302-732529 and 0302-765436 or visit us at shandoniaproperties.com.
Super Morning Show.
Joy 99.7 FM.
And it's 11 minutes past 9 here on the Super Morning Show in Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Daniel Dazi. Thanks for staying with us. We have Professor Godfred Bokpin on the phone. He is an economist and professor of finance. We've been having quite the conversation with him. He's been analyzing Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's economic management team town hall, which took place yesterday. Basically, we've been asking ourselves a question. Is economic growth the same as economic development? And by economic development, we mean the development of you, the human being. Daniel Batidam sends us this one. He says, 3 thumbs up to Mami on economic growth and development. In fact, there's also uneconomic growth, which our politicians and economists don't seem to know about. He says uneconomic growth, in simple terms, is economic growth that does more harm than good. Good morning, thanks for listening. Let me just say a happy birthday to Reverend Emmanuel Agbeenu, head pastor of Kanda Assemblies of God Church. More grace in your service to God and country. You can tweet at us as Joy997FM. Go on our Facebook page, Joy99.7FM. The hashtag is JoySMS. I'm going to wrap up with Prof. Bokpin in a moment. But before that, your text messages are brought to you by Afrodan. Your back must last you a lifetime. Glyco Critical Illness Plan, GSIP, Glyco, we cushion you for life. Now, Afrodan is offering you today the most comfortable chair in the world, the Nightingale Extreme Comfort Chair, with over 10 thoughtfully engineered features, especially customized for your health and comfort. So go to Afrodan on the first floor of the Swansea Shopping Arcade and feel this chair. You'll be amazed. But with over 30 years in a stationery business, Kingdom Books and Stationery now offers a 30-day credit facility with no interest charge. We deliver free within Accra, Tema, and surrounding towns. So call us on 0302-764-101 or 762-307 or visit kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials, stationery and furniture. So we flip things up a bit. We would take Prof's final comments and then say goodbye. Then we'll come to Raymond for fact-checking. Good morning, Prof.
Yes, good morning.
Thanks again for staying with us. So finally, you have sort of taken apart, if I can use that expression, what we have touted as the what we should be measuring our growth by. So if we were to ask you, what do you think our targets should be? If we were to define for ourselves what we should measure ourselves by, what would that be?
Okay, so thank you very much. So the point that I was just trying to make is that maybe enough of the regime comparison. Okay, then let's look up and compare ourselves to where we should be or our proper peers within that middle income continuum. That would be very helpful. And I also agree with your colleagues at the workplace that GDP growth is not enough. In fact, way back in the 30s, when the whole concept of GDP growth came into being as a measure of economic growth, it came with its own weaknesses. But we have lived with it up to now. And that is how come other indicators have been developed, like the human development indicators. Today, we are even talking about social progression index. Today, in the economics literature, we are talking about gross happiness index. In other words, countries are moving away from GDP as a sole measure of economic performance because of the shortcomings of GDP, because the destructive effect of the GDP itself is poorly or not reflected in the GDP calculation. And the GDP does not talk about the redistribution effect in the economy itself. So those are there. I want to believe that the economic management team is fully aware. What I would say is that admittedly, we have made some progress in the last 2 years. That is a fact. We could have done better. That is also a fact. How do we scale up? These are the fundamental issues. Our revenue envelope has remained dwarfed from the previous government to now. What do we do? Of course, we are talking about the digitization and all of that. The reality on the ground also is that we have more than 6 million people in tax-paying position in this country. We are told just about 1.5 million people actually pay their taxes. That is unacceptable. The citizens, we all have a role to play. But leadership is important in all of these things. Without that, we cannot. You see, they will safely talk about the fact that debt ratio has fallen because we are looking at it in terms of the new GDP series, in terms of the rebase. Okay, so when you look at it in terms of the rebase GDP figure, then our debt to GDP ratio is somewhere 56%. But when you look at it on the old GDP series, then you can see that we haven't made significant progress in terms of debt sustainability. In fact, the last debt sustainability analysis done on Ghana actually suggests that we have not made significant progress. We are considered a high-risk debt distress country as we speak. So apart from debt to GDP ratio, that will talk about the fact that it has come down to 56%. The real betrayal, you will find it in your tax efforts, which has also come down from 16.2% based on old GDP series to about 12.6% based on the new GDP series.
But Prof, on that point of our being considered as a high debt distress country, a high risk debt distress country.
We are at the risk of it. We are not there yet. We are at the risk of it.
Exactly, but we are not really seeing investor behavior in that sense because we have got one of the most oversubscribed Eurobonds recently at very good rates, at least if you are comparing ourselves to ourselves. And we have seen our credit rating improve by Standard & Poor's.
Yes, but it could have been better, couldn't it? Remember, you are paying 8.something% dollar denominated. There is no exchange rate risk essentially. And if you see the way the borrowings have been collateralized, mortgage based on natural resources and all of that, the IMF itself has cautioned us to be very careful the way we are doing the debt collateralization. We need to be a bit careful. I will not blame this government totally for all of this. There's a legacy dimension to all of this that they have inherited. And that is why I'm saying that these are the weightier matters. So enough of the regime comparison. Look, if you want to compare the 2 years of this government to NDC's own, this government will always be scored higher. Any objective person will give them more marks than the previous government. But we are saying that there are weightier matters, structural rigidities that we have to be able to address. And to do so, we have to be a bit objective, less of the politics, less of the this here and there, so that we'll be able to garner the necessary broad-based support and the buy-in, because political will is important, but sometimes it may come at a political cost. And the ultimate politician also cares about employment stability. So they wouldn't want to take certain policies that will cost them their political, maybe job stability or something. So we need to, because our election cycle is very short. And therefore, they want to reflect all of this. So what I'm saying is that, yes, we've made some progress, but there's a lot more that we could do. Of course, I'm happy the banking sector cleanup. You know, the credit rating improvement we saw, it was largely as a result of the banking sector cleanup, okay, which I think it was very good. A lot of people didn't want to agree with government and Bank of Ghana, but I think it was the right thing they did, okay, in cleaning up the sector, because we had this kind of laxity in the last 8 years or so, where it looks as though anything goes. Regulatory forbearance, laxity, I mean, across major stakeholders in the financial sector. And that is not good for the economy. And that's we are seeing right now. Even the cleanup that we have done, I don't think that we are out of figure, because money is not circulating in the economy in terms of the banking sector actually supporting the government overall economic strategy. Money is held up. There are a good number of people who want to access their funds, either with Consolidated Bank, either with Gold Coast, either with men's gold or women's gold, or any of those golds, collectibles. And all of that is not helping, because the essence of money is not for money to be held up at one particular place. The essence of money is that money goes round. Okay, and that's what we call credit creation, the process where money lent to individuals finds its way back into the banking system when spent and is therefore available for lending again. We need to resolve all of that. Then you want to talk about the non-performing loans. It's also not helping. So I want to believe that we are making some progress, but we are not making let me say, in terms of the rate of progression is slow because of the level of in terms of the revenue underperformance and the special rigidities that we have.
Prof, I want to ask a question.
Focus on addressing.
Prof, I want to ask a question that may seem juvenile or elementary, but pardon me, humor me on this. You mentioned how the money has been held up, and so in the financial sector, money is not circulating. Prof, where's the money?
The money is held up because, look, if you look at it this way, so how much has been maybe locked up with men's gold? Assuming those who wanted to access their money got their money back, they would have done one or two transactions. Don't you think so? They would have. The money is held up somewhere. It's lost, maybe. I don't want to say it's lost because it's been investigated and all of that. But usually, most of these Ponzi schemes, there's very little underlying real assets that you can sell in order to pay back the people. So I don't want to speculate, and I don't want to be the reason why somebody's blood pressure will go up. But the reality is that I don't think they can get substantial from the underlying asset necessarily. That's a fact. Then you want to also talk about the mainstream banking sector. So even for those whose deposits have been transferred to the consolidated bank, in terms of operational issues, validation, and all of that in accessing their funds, it hasn't been that smooth. That is a fact. When it comes to the lower end of the market, savings and loans, when it comes to microfinance, we are told that they've gotten financial clearance, we are told. So they will then move into the lower end of the market. So what it tells you is that if we are talking about 3 billion cedis or so held up, people's deposits that they can't access, it's held up somewhere. Probably it's toxic asset on their books now. The question is, with this bailout of, it's going to increase our debt stock marginally, fine. Are we able to recover these monies from the directors, from the shareholders, from the underlying assets? These are real questions. These are real challenges.
Okay. Prof.
Apart from that, the lack of trust in the financial system as a result of these infractions may be preventing people from even taking their deposits to the banks. Because banks are only able to lend if they mobilize deposits. Okay. So we need to be able to address all of this and support the central bank in doing a total cleanup. And let's put in place the measures such that never again should we experience something like this in our country. We are abusing the trust that the ordinary Ghanaians with very little financial knowledge, through no fault of theirs, have placed in Bank of Ghana, have placed in savings and loan institutions, have placed in microfinance, because they put themselves forward with approval from the central bank that they are credible, you can do business with them. The ordinary Ghanaian trusted them, and look at what has come out of that trust. It's unfortunate.
I actually had a follow-up on that. And the monies that were locked up in some of these institutions, granted, if the allegations being made are true, it means that some of these monies were spent. I mean, realistically speaking, should we not be seeing the effect of this expenditure in the economy? I mean, go ahead.
So, fine. It depends on what they were spent on. If there are real underlying assets to it, okay, then you can say that, fine, those underlying assets will generate returns in the medium to the long term or something to offset that impact. But sometimes you'll find that in the books of many of these institutions, you only see what we call toxic assets. The real value is practically maybe zero. Some would have invested in land with disputes over the land. A whole lot of things. Somebody would have bought 200 shoes because his passion is to wear shoes. Somebody would have a whole lot of things. Okay, so that is why the financial sector or the banking sector all over the world is one of the most highly regulated sectors in the world. It's because of reasons like this. Because people's little money and all of that, okay? Look, ordinary people, somebody, all his savings there maybe 300. For that's all that he has. And all of that. So apart from that, you see this country, so many uncompleted structures. That is money held up. That is not generating any return. So many uncompleted structures. All of that are fueling inequality and the poverty in the system. So you invest, you don't complete the building, so you can rent it out. And for the past 5 years, your money is held up there. What's the income generating from that particular wealth? Now, so we have to be able to look at all of this comprehensively and then make progress. Where the government needs support, we need to give them the support. Okay, there have been genuine efforts at tackling many of these things, but the reality is that there's a lot that remains to be done in terms of the structural rigidities in the economy. Expenditure side, then especially revenue side. And then maybe you and I, when we meet friends, we should be asking them, like the finance minister asked, whether we have filed our personal tax returns. I haven't done mine anyway, and I'm sure after this call I'll take steps so that I can also file mine. But I've been paying my taxes. You know why I pay?
Why?
And they give me the balance. So I'm part of the 1.5 million people paying their taxes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. I was going to invite myself and the rest of the team to your office for lunch so that we can continue this conversation. Maybe whilst we are doing that, you are going
to pay, right? You are going to pay.
Oh, we'll fill the tax returns in that, so it will be a mutually beneficial.
Okay, no problem. When you are coming, come along with your own food.
It will be local food, so it will be contributing to the economy. Professor Godfred Bokpin, very, very enlightening conversation, I must say. I have a lot of conversations on this show. This was absolutely enlightening. This was supposed to be his final comments. It stretched on for about 10 minutes. Forgive me. Okay, and yes, I need to announce that we are ending today at 11 a.m. So we are taking the first hour of Cosmopolitan Mix. Pardon us if you're expecting something on Cosmo, but the Super Morning Show today will end at 11 a.m. So we still have 1.5 good hours to go on the show. It's 27 minutes past 9. Raymond Aqua is here. Ray.
Yes.
Who is false? Me, I want to know that one first. Who is false?
You will be disappointed. Now, I've just gone through the statement, the Vice President. So let's look at some basic ones. For example, in paragraph 22, it talks about total public debt having increased from 122 billion in 2016 to 173 billion. Indeed, of course, including the cost of the banking sector cleanup as at the end of 2018. I mean, there is evidence to suggest that the 173.2 billion is actually right, but this 122 billion was clarified and reduced by the Controller and Accountant General Department, which actually in its 2016 report on the Consolidated Fund actually said the debt as of 2016 was 120 and not 22 billion. This was also verified by the Auditor General's Department. So we cannot consistently be using the 122 billion for that. Now, also in paragraph 10, the paragraph 10.
So no, wait, before you move to paragraph 10, what's your verdict on
which one? I mentioned two of them. I said that the 122 billion was not true and that the 173 billion was true. Okay. That's what I stated there. Okay. Now, paragraph 10 says by the end of 2016, the fundamentals of the economy were generally weak, and it makes reference to real GDP growth declined from 9.1 in 2008 to 3.4, and talked about, yes, of course, and also made reference to the rising public debt that had pushed the debt to GDP beyond 70 threshold of comparable economies to 73.1%. Now, the interesting part here is that we can't be referencing 73.1% for the 120 billion GDP rate. That's been the debt to GDP rate.
Okay.
We do know, and government officials have consistently referenced that the debt to GDP for 2016 is 56.8%. Now, perhaps because that is a bit lower than the current 58%. Yes, I mean, as of the last month of 2018, the figure was 58%.
Okay.
So that is perhaps why you would want to use the old series GDP When just before that, you were using the new series GDP growth rate.
But politicians do that a lot, don't they? They quote dollars when it's convenience. They quote CDs when it's...
Again, so the fact remains that the debt to GDP as of 2016 was 56.8 and not 73%.
Okay.
And that's established. Okay. So now, there are also some very... And a couple of... in that statement, there are also some contradictions that are established in there. If you see paragraph 6, for example, it states that the economy ended in 2012 with a fiscal deficit of 12.2%, and that of 2013 was 11.7%, 11.9% in 2014, before falling to 6.7% in 2015, but rose again to 9.3% in 2016. Now, let's take the 2014 figure specifically, because that was the main thing that they took out there. Now, the figure given for 2014, which is specifically 11.9, being fiscal deficit, is contradicted in paragraph 35 of the same statement. So 6 and 35 is what I'm actually comparing now. It says in 2014, the fiscal deficit was 10.1. Earlier in paragraph 6, it said it was what? Specifically 11.9. But it says in paragraph 35 that it's 10.1.
Which one is correct?
So, to be fair, if you go to the website of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs
of
Finance right now, and you go to the data section and pick out the fiscal data for the year we are considering today, the actual fiscal deficit they put there is 7.4.
Is none of them?
Yes.
So the two of the figures that were given.
Yeah, in this part, there's two paragraphs.
So what's the verdict?
They are contradicted. They are contradictory in there, but the website, and I'm sure if you want to analyze specific fiscal data, that's where you will go to.
Yeah,
that's
of course,
where you get
of course. Yeah, that's
the
the
interpreted
source.
ones. It gives you 7.4% on that particular end. But what was put out there was not true, and this is actually the actual one there on the website of the Ministry of
So the verdict is false?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, again, the public debt to GDP rose to 70.2 in 2014. That's in the paragraph that I just spoke to you about. This, again, is contradicted in paragraph 31. Yes, on page 31 is there. It says that the debt to GDP then is also 51%. So, whilst in one paragraph, it says that 2014's debt to GDP was 70.2. On the other hand, it says it's 51%. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Okay, now, again, the convenience there is when you decide to use rebase figure as against prior to rebase, because your rebasing terminal point reference point was 2013, and this is 2014 in this case.
Okay.
Well, the point that you also made in that same paragraph, which is interesting, is that when it comes to quoting on the real GDP growth rates, it uses all new series figures. Now, there is one other issue that ought to be clarified. You know that the Vice President said, contrary to some speculation, the Bank of Ghana did not spend any reserves to revive the cedi following the initial depreciation. And it says that some people have misunderstood the requirement by the IMF for the Bank of Ghana to build up its reserves by 800 million to mean that the Bank of Ghana used that money to reverse the depreciation.
Okay.
Now, if you go straight to your summary of macroeconomic data, and that's actually summary of economic and financial data for March 2018, and you take the specific periods you are looking at in this case, and that is when you go to specifically section 6, it gives you the net international reserves. Now,
what's the net international reserves?
The net international reserves as of 20...
No, what is it? How is it defined for our listeners?
So that's when you take out the monies that you owe people at the Bank of Ghana. It's actually the amount that when we get cocoa money coming in, when we get this Eurobond money to come in, that's where we put it first. So that you shore up the amount of money that you have in your coffers properly, that can use to support the city.
Okay, so if the money is withdrawn from there, it's going to support the city.
Yes. Okay. So now the gross international reserves in this particular case, specifically, and it's differentiated by the net, by how much other people's money are in your thing. So net is really your money, gross is other people's money, inclusive of your money too.
Okay.
So now the Vice President said that we are giving the indication that we should have end year 2018 figures as our net international reserve, which was 3851, right?
Okay.
And that is a regulation that came in somewhere in February. Now, immediate opposition to this one was that no, you can't say that we didn't spend 800 million or we didn't take out 800 million out of our net reserves. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Now, if you look at the month December 2018, it was 3851. If you look at the first month of this year, it was 3514. That's some like a reduction of 300 million US dollars in the first place. Then to the next month, February, it became 3173, which looks like almost 600 or up to 700 million out of the net international reserves.
Okay.
Now, what people did not get, which is where the vice president is absolutely right on this one, is that he didn't just put out there, he didn't just say, he didn't go out there saying that
they haven't withdrawn any money from the net international reserves.
So listen to the expression carefully. See, contrary to some speculation, the Bank of Ghana did not spend any reserves to revive the cedi following the initial depreciation.
Following the initial depreciation.
And that's the key word there.
Okay.
Which presupposes that the amount of monies that were taken in January, February could have been taken for the initial depreciation. But when the directive came later on, then
they decided not
to take again. Because if you look at March 2018, it has a very impressive, what they call it, net international reserve.
Okay.
It's actually up to 6335 compared to the 3851 in December 2018.
Okay.
So he was right. But it's also true that there were some monies taken from the international reserves prior to that month of, what they call it, March 2019. I hope you get that.
Right. So, Raymond, how many have we done so far? How many paragraphs have we done so far?
Oh, it's about 8 of them.
We've done 8 paragraphs.
Yeah, but they are linked. They are picked up from different
some
sections,
of them
especially
are.
The contradictions involved.
Some of them are related.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Raymond, I'll ask you to pause here. Okay. Let me take this group, these few messages, and then we come back. Like I told you, this morning we are having the extended version of the Super Morning Show. What we've done so far is that we began the conversation among ourselves, trying to, first of all, get what our expectations were and evaluate if they were met. Great conversation. Then we went to Prof. Bokpin for some analysis. He largely agreed, I must say, with what we were saying in studio about how we must look beyond the comparison and begin looking at the targets that will really affect the lives of the Ghanaian. We've come back to Raymond. He's taken us through a number of untruths. Should I call them that, Raymond? Untruths, a few untruths, some true statements, and some contradictions in what the vice president said. So we'll go and come back. When we come back, Raymond will continue with this fact-checking. We'll speak with Dr. Ebu Texan, who is also an economist, and the Northern Akwa Hayford, Mami Dakwa Winado, are also in studio. Your comments are also welcome on 0244-340437. Paul from Brekusu says, good morning, Daniel. Please, how does the government reconcile the budget estimate inflows with the reduction the Vice President announced yesterday? If government is reducing import duties as well as benchmark levies, how does the government intend to block the deficits that this reduction will bring? Interesting question. We'll answer that when we come back.
Welcome to South Africa, your own personal playground.
Welcome to the Cape One.
Welcome to Johannesburg.
Welcome to Shaka Marine World.
Welcome to Canal Walk.
Welcome to the Nelson Mandela Capture Site.
Welcome to
the Cape Town Jazz Festival.
Welcome to the Midlands.
Welcome to Maboneng. Welcome to East London. Welcome to God's Window.
With 54 million welcoming South Africans, all eager to make your holiday that much more inviting, allow us to indulge you with all our favorite sights and sounds. Visit SouthAfrica.net to discover more. South Africa, inspiring new ways.
Hey, Sammy. Yeah, brother. I say yesterday, you do some magic way. I shock.
What's happened?
Yeah, yesterday, the money go take pay for your hospital bill self. Charlie was a problem. As me, I did there, the worry. Oh, I didn't put his phone, dial something. Where I follow him go the MTN store opposite the hospital. He spoke to the iOS Send with care staff and he came out with 600 Ghana cedis in his mobile money wallet to sort the hospital bill, my brother.
What? Are you send with care?
Yeah.
Why? He be sponsor.
Remember the 200 Ghana cedis he sent to my Zima last week using MTN Ayo Send with Care?
Yeah,
that be what they triple give one back as an insurance cover.
Sayo!
When you want to send mobile money, simply dial *170# on your MTN phone. Select option 1, scroll down and select option 3, Send with Care. Then boom, you get the money tripled as medical cover for yourself and life cover for both you and the recipient. To claim, simply dial *170#. Call 100 for more information. Terms and conditions apply. This policy is underwritten by Metropolitan Life Insurance Ghana. Ayo, because you care.
I remember that day our neighbor drove up with this brand new car. Charlie. It was 1994. I was but a teenager with big dreams and small means. I watched this new car they labeled SUV from my bedroom window for hours on end. But that night, I went to sleep thinking, one day, I'm gonna buy me one just like it. Fast forward to now as we speak. I'm on my way to the showroom to pick up that dream SUV, my very own Kia Sportage.
Drive up today with your brand new Kia Sportage at a discounted price. Ghana's favorite SUV since 1994. For more info, call 0249-911-444 or visit any of our Kia showrooms in Accra, Tema, Spintex, Takoradi or Kumasi. Kia, the power to surprise.
Providence Insurance, insurance for marine. Providence Insurance, insurance for your motor. Providence Insurance, insurance for your property. Providence Insurance, your future happy days.
With Provident, man, you are covered.
The world is a very special place, filled with so many special moments. Enjoy special food, meet special people, and visit special sites. With so many special destinations to explore, your journey can be special too. With Emirates, wait for it, special fares. Book by 9th April for travel until 30th September 2019. Visit emirates.com/gh. Conditions apply. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
We interrupt this program to bring you breaking news. No expiry demonstrations have broken out all across the country. Ghanaians are demanding the right to use their data for as long as they want.
No expiry! No expiry!
In an effort to appease the situation, Airtel Tigo has scrapped data expiry. Our reporter Abna is on the ground.
What do you think about Airtel Tigo's new data bundle?
What is mine should be mine for as long as I want.
What about you, sir?
Oh, now with big time data bundles, we can browse, sir.
Airtel Tigo says, haha, their data doesn't expire. Dial *111# today and get big time data so you can browse only on Airtel Tigo.
Super Morning Show.
"17 minutes to the top of the hour here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. Good morning to Charles Mensah, financial analyst par excellence. Wherever you are across the world, we celebrate you. I want to say a happy birthday to Miss Agatha Prempe of Tema from the management of Exercise Rescue Mission. Also to Mrs. Belinda Kano of Snit Adabraka branch. May the Lord guide, favor, and protect you. From Kabu, Kabuki, Kabukwo, and Isaac Kano of MTN. I want to say it again. Mrs. Belinda Kano, happy birthday. Live to be 99.7 and beyond. It's from Kabu, Kabuki, Kabukwo, and Isaac Kano. It's a beautiful family. Okay, Reverend William Kwame America, retired pastor of Global Evangelical Church. A happy 70th anniversary to you. Papa, as we affectionately call you, was a huge influence in our upbringing. From your children Etonam Yaira, Nukunu, and Mauli Fui, we say a big 70 to you, Reverend Williams Kwame Amedeka. So a good morning to the Apport squad from Media Management's Master's Class of Graduate School of Research. Now, it's a super duper deal in the Melcom Best Buy promotion. Enjoy amazing cracking deals on selected supermarket brands such as Sun Magic, Central Beer, Rexona, Crest, Camel, Dettol, Dove, Amborg, Even, Frital, Geisha, Heinz, Key Soap, McVitie's Digestive Biscuits, Lifebuoy, Casa, Preco, Milo, Omo, Namio, MG Spirit, Red Bull, Pepsodent, Titus Sardines, and many more. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Melcom Best Buy promotion. Super duper deals always. Melcom, where Ghana shops. Now visit our private gated community at Shandonia Garden off the Accra Tema Motorway, where we have up to 100 acres of serviced plots, solar street lights, tarred roads, sidewalks, and many more. Great features where you will be happy to call home with peace of mind, which is fully titled and litigation free. We have quality infrastructure on all our communal facilities you can enjoy and create memories that can last a lifetime. With great value on our lands and flexible payment plan, we can help you invest into your future. So let us bring you to Shandonia Garden. Contact us today on 0302 732 529 and 020 522 8053. It's 15 minutes to the top of the hour, and we are going till 11 a.m. I'm in the studio with Mami Dakwa Winado and Northern Aqua Hayford. Dr. Ebo Texton of the University of Ghana Economics Department will be joining us shortly. I want you guys to listen to this question and the answer that followed. The question on the number of jobs that were created and the answer that followed. We'll come back.
My question is very simple. How does all this decent macro figures translate to jobs? How many jobs have we created in the past year or two? Thank you very much.
I think the issue of jobs is fundamental to what we've been listening to this morning. Now, the experience from almost all the matured economies in the world point to one thing, that if you want to create jobs on a sustainable basis, you have to be able to industrialize. And that is why we've embarked on a very aggressive program for industrial transformation, probably never ever seen in this country since independence. You're talking about working with the private sector to ensure that at least in every district in Ghana, that will support the private sector to establish one major industrial processing facility. Beyond that, also, we are working with the private sector. And please, the emphasis is not on government starting state enterprises. This is on supporting the private sector to do these things. So apart from the 1D1F, I'm sure you are also aware that in every region, government is supporting, again, the private sector to create these industrial enclaves which will provide the ecosystem for industries, both local and external, to locate. This cannot happen by chance. You have to create a system that will attract investments into the productive sectors of the economy. That's how you create jobs. Even in the United States of America, they are talking about industrialization, manufacturing, because they need to be able to create jobs. And I could go on and on. We have a very ambitious program for export development, not focusing on only cocoa and gold, but expanding non-traditional exports. That is also going to be an entry point for job creation. But I think, and of course, my brother from the Ministry of Agriculture, planting for food and jobs, it's also another entry point for job creation. But Excellency, if I may just spend a minute to put the whole essence of what we've been listening today, this morning, and how it relates to job creation. Now, when you inherit an economy that has significant challenges, your primary task is to stabilize the economy. That is the fundamental objective that you have to pursue. And for you to stabilize the economy, you need to be able to restrain expenditure and then ensure that you don't spend what you do not have. And as soon as you pursue such a policy, obviously because you are not embarking on public expenditure, there will be a constriction of jobs. But we have no choice but to do that in order to create the foundation and the environment for the jobs to be created, for investments to come, for the jobs to be created. So I think that what we've done, and I needed to explain this, that we started, of course, we could have started talking about only job creation. But as the Americans will say, it ain't going to happen unless you have a stable macroeconomic environment. Nobody is going to invest in your country, whether domestic or external. So that is why you've seen that there's been a focus on the stabilization of the macroeconomy. You've also realized from this presentation that as we focused on macro stabilization, we also wanted to ensure that certain social services that are fundamental to reduce the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian also being addressed. Free education, national health insurance, all those are public sector investments. So meanwhile, whilst you are doing this, you are taking money away from maybe supporting the private sector, which ordinarily would have increased the level of job creation faster. But as the Vice President said, if you want sustained development in any country, you have no choice but to create a condition that will generate the jobs over a very long period of time. So now that you have 2 years of sustained macroeconomic improvement, because without that improvement, you cannot exit from the IMF. You cannot just go and say, I want to leave, and then they allow you to leave, because you have certain commitments. Now that we've been able to get that clean bill of health, and now that we've been able to address some of the social interventions, this is the time when you are going to see private sector booming, because the foundation has already been created. So if today we are announcing all these measures that would facilitate trade, that would expand investments, then you can understand that it needed to come at this time when we know that the environment has been created. So I thought that I should mention this. Maybe I can just add on the auto policy.
Yes, please.
Again, when you talk about industrial development, there's been so much focus on one district, one factory. But that is only a small part of what we are doing.
So that was the Trade Minister, Alan Kyerematen, responding to Professor Peter Quartey's question of how many jobs have been created. Mame, what's your reaction to what she just said?
Boy, I'm just thinking of the fact that I think, and I don't know how to sound, so if you look at our system and the way things have been running for years, besides whether it's the NDC or the MPP, we look at the fact that we're very good at talking. And I think because we put too much emphasis on the kind of educational background that we have and not much on problem solving. So if you realize, in terms of credentials and everything, it helps people to be able to tell you what the problem is. The question is that how do you solve the problem? And that's another element I think we haven't cultivated as a people. Now, the big question is how many jobs have been created? And then the answer is, he obviously was trying to answer the question in the best way he could. But I think that everything goes back to the issue of, even if the one district, one factory thing is project starts running, we need to ask ourselves that in terms of exporting our products, we don't even have market access. In the WTO right now, African countries are fighting heavily for market access into foreign markets because they use a protectionist measure to protect their local industries, to protect their farmers. And at the end of the day, when we produce and want to put our products on their market, they put a lot of stringent laws on us, even though the WTO frowns against it. So if you look at the international system, people are doing what they want. Developed states, they do whatever they want. But when it comes to African countries, the IMF, everybody is telling you, do this, spend that. So I'm just thinking, okay, in job creation, yes, we'll have the one district, one factory. The big question is that with the money we're going to use for that project, a lot of the money, even though it'll be from private sector, there will be a lot of foreign investment in that. That means they also have to make their profit. How much will they pay your workers? So if you have a job and then you're not earning much, because think about it in Ghana, like people do work. How many people are being paid enough to even take care of their family? So I think that it's great. I know that we want to create jobs through industrialization, but I feel there's some issues that if we don't address on a broad spectrum, we'll have all of these jobs. And yes, people are earning 300 cedis, 400 cedis a month in Ghana and have kids. And they do have jobs. Look at the factories. Some of these mining companies, when a lot of these foreigners come and open companies here and then they employ Ghanaians, how much do they pay them? Peanuts. But at the end of the day, they do have jobs. So the big question is that aside the job creation thing, how do you, because what China is doing now is that they are making sure their labor laws are so tough. So then foreign companies are forced to pay Chinese workers more. So are there laws?
But we now have companies leaving China because of that, in spite of their great numbers, their numbers.
Yes.
We now have factories relocating to places like Rwanda in South Africa.
Yes, so they actually trying to leave because of how much they are being taxed. But what China is doing now is this. They are proposing a tax exemption, a temporal tax exemption, and they are saying to these companies that the condition on which we'll give you these exemptions is if you reinvest the money you're making into specific areas, railway, mining. So you see, they have the leeway to do. In Ghana, and especially a lot of African countries, we don't have the leeway to decide where even loans we collect, where we put the money. We are told, put the money here, put the money there. Why? Because the moment we become self-reliant, a lot of foreign economies are going to collapse. And that is why it's very necessary for us to prioritize producing locally and also, and I keep repeating this, push for the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area. We'll have a huge market. And trust me, your bargaining power will be so huge. No one's going to come and tell you, we'll pay you this for your cocoa.
Well, the Vice President did state in the statement yesterday that we, with aluminium, for instance,
Yes.
we reached an agreement with Guinea where we would be getting, it's a bauxite
Yes.
feeding into our alumina industry.
Okay.
That is to be built. But of course, that's also a plan that is yet to see, that we are looking for it to be fully consummated. Dr. Ebu Texton is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Department of Economics. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Daniel, and good morning to your listeners.
Great. Doc, just give me a moment. Okay, let me just begin with you. So we just heard Mr. Alan Tremanting speak on job creation. He was asked by your colleague, Prof. Peter Korte. Prof himself said yesterday that he wishes a specific number would have been given. Do you agree?
Yes, I didn't listen to Prof. Korte anyway. So, yes, I mean, we need to find out how many jobs are being created. We know at times it's very difficult for precise figures to be arrived at, but if we can get a sense of how many jobs have been created out of the 1D, 1F, and other initiatives of this government, it will help for us to know if we are making a headway. So Professor Korte was right in asking that if we could be specific with the figures, that would be fine. So I agree with Professor Korte here.
Great. Doc, I would ask that you humor us for just a few more minutes. It's just a few minutes to the top of the hour, so we would take these important messages, go for the news on top of the hour, then we'll come back. Or do I have permission to run through the news? Okay, then we'll come back to you. You're still live on the Super Morning Show. Enjoy 99.7 FM. We'll be back. Like I said, the Super Morning Show runs till 11, so we are here till 11. But then Mama Vioso Abaji has the news on top of the hour right after this.
Welcome to South Africa, your own personal playground.
Welcome to the Cape Winelands.
Welcome to Johannesburg.
Welcome to Shaka Marine World.
Welcome to Canal Walk.
Welcome to the Nelson Mandela Capture Site.
Welcome to
the Cape Town Jazz Festival.
Welcome to the Midlands.
Welcome to Maboneng. Welcome to East London. Welcome to God's Window.
With 54 million welcoming South Africans, all eager to make your holiday that much more inviting, allow us to indulge you with all our favorite sights and sounds. Visit SouthAfrica.net to discover more. South Africa, inspiring new ways.
Enjoy fast, affordable, and dependable 4G service in Accra and Tema. In your office, home, or on the go. Contact Telesol today on 0302 221 658 or 9. or 0303-975-342 or more, or our website, telesol4g.com, or send us an email through enquiry@telesol4g.com. Telesol 4G, just a touch.
Blitz Africa presents the 4th annual Ghana Women of the Year Honors, a 3-day event to celebrate the superwomen, the women driving the agenda. On Thursday, the 11th of April, we'll have the first ever female CEO's breakfast meeting at the Movenpick Ambassador Hotel. Special guest of honor, Mrs. Frima Osei Opare, the Chief of Staff of the Republic of Ghana. On Friday, the 12th of April, the She Summit, under the theme Beyond Gender at the EcoBank Head Office, Ridge, Accra. And finally, on Saturday, the 13th of April, the Ghana Women of the Year Honors at the Labadi Beach Hotel, 7 p.m. sharp. Sponsors, Fidelity Bank, Believe With Us, Veuve Clicquot, Savani Motors, Labadi Beach Hotel, the Bank of Africa, and Multimedia Group Limited. Media partners, DSTV and BNFT, with support from UNFPA Ghana and Innovate Advertising. For inquiries, call 050-158-1266. Ghana Women of the Year Honors, women inspiring women.
Yes. Sorry.
Ten o'clock.
And here's the latest news headlines from the Joy Newsroom. Reduction in benchmark value on import duty has taken effect this morning at the various ports. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baoumi announced the policy at a town hall meeting in Accra yesterday and received a wild applause from the audience.
The benchmark delivery values of imports will be reduced by 50%. However, for vehicles, the reduction will be 30%.
While the joy of these people may be short-lived, as the Association of Ghana Industry says, this will not result in reduction in duties at the ports.
In most cases, you declare your values, and if you are truly declaring the right values, the benchmark values doesn't come in at all. So you pay the right duty. It is only when there's uncertainty, the customs are not clear, that the values you have declared is not consistent with what they think the values should be. Then they apply the benchmark values. So in most cases, I don't expect most cases the values will stay the same. So we shouldn't be too excited that there's a 50% reduction in the duties.
Well, today the NDC's Finance and Economic team is expected to hold a public lecture to outline what they say are distortions put out by the Vice President and also lay bare the true facts of the states of the economy. Angry residents of Noaso in the eastern region have protested what they call incessant power cuts in the area. They claim the Manya town has been plunged into total darkness, a situation which is negatively affecting economic and domestic activities. The protesters blocked the main phone to Domasi Road and bent tires to prevent cars from moving on that stretch.
We are not bothered about it because we know the kind of condition and the weather we have now. A very hot weather in the day, meaning in the evening we need us to sleep. But it looks as if anytime it is time for us to go to bed, we have to be up till maybe 1 or 2 a.m., which is not the best. Sometimes some of us have to go to school, some of us will have to go to work and stuff. Sometimes it's really affecting us. So we think that when we do this, will help us to...
How do you think it will help? Are you protesting, and whom are you protesting to?
Well, personally, I think we live in a kind of country that except you get the kind of attention you want from whichever person should do whatever he or she has to do, that thing won't be done.
PDS is in charge of electricity supply. Okay. Have you ever, since this thing started, have you petitioned them? Have you met them and talked to them over it?
Personally, I don't know, but I can't tell whether what.
Aggrieved workers of the Ghana Great Company this morning meet with management of the company over their salary arrears. According to the staff union, months of non-payment of their salaries is causing some disaffection among the workers. Union Chairman Francis Ajete is hopeful some agreement would be reached for them to have their monies paid.
There's a challenge in our company, which our management are trying to address it. Due to that, the groups are coming to meet, the senior staff and then the unionists. They are coming to meet on such subjects. Management are also putting in their efforts, to overcome the situation. But per the workers, I may say we are working, but we are not all that feeling happy because we cannot be working in the empty stomach. But for work, everybody is playing his role. And the outcome of the meeting will determine what happens. Since we are engaging ourselves with the management, then there should be a way out.
You have the Grid Coal Union Chairman Francis Ajete. Finally, officials of the Lands Ministry have discovered widespread illegal mining activities in the western and central regions. This is in spite of extensive reforms introduced to arrest galamseyers. Yesterday, defiant illegal miners were forced to abandon their concessions as officials of the ministry began a clampdown. And that's your headline news at 10. My name is Mama Vioswabwaji. Do log on to myjawline.com for more news.
This is the 12th edition of the Water Africa and
at ShopRite, enjoy a low price Easter with unbeatable savings on everything you need for the perfect Easter feast. From our range of succulent meat and freshly baked favorites to delicious treats and eggs galore, plus the lowest prices on so much more. Like a 5-kilo bag of Lily rice for just 59 cedis, 99 pesos, and a 1-liter bottle of Frito vegetable cooking oil for only 5 cedis, 49 pesos. Valid until 7th April. Celebrate a low price Easter only at ShopRite. Lower prices you can trust always.
I am Dr. Acacia. Acacia's superior IT support enables making payment on claims twice as fast as the regular health insurance providers in the country, so your workers get treatment quickly and can return to handling your business. Acacia Health Insurance. We place value on those you value.
Wow, yeah. Shandonia Garden is massive. Hey, what's that over there?
It's a plant tennis court, swimming pool, and a gym coming soon.
And the houses, unique in their own way.
Okay, darling, wait till you see ours.
What?
Why?
Wait.
Now tell me, what do you think?
Oh, just so serene. Thank you. I love you.
Visit our luxurious gated community at Shandonia Garden off the Tema Highway. Our lands are fully titled and litigation free with flexible payment plans you can afford. So let us bring you to Shandonia Gardens, where your dream lands. Contact us today on 0302 732529 and 0302 765436 or visit us at shandoniaproperties.com.
This is the Open House Party.
This show is all about the hottest tracks, the latest hits, the freestyles, the amazing guests, the live phone-ins. It's your #1 Saturday night show, the Open House Party on the #1 radio station, 8 p.m. to 12 midnight with the one and only DJ Black. # Open House Party on all social media platforms.
It's the Open House Party here on Joy 99.7 FM.
Glitz Africa presents the 4th annual Ghana Women of the Year Honors, a 3-day event to celebrate the superwomen, the women driving the agenda. On Thursday, the 11th of April, we'll have the first ever female CEO's breakfast meeting at the Movenpick Ambassador Hotel. Special guest of honor, Mrs. Frima Osei Opare, the Chief of Staff of the Republic of Ghana. On Friday, the 12th of April, the She Summit under the theme Beyond Gender at the EcoBank Head Office, Ridge, Accra. And finally, on Saturday, the 13th of April, the Ghana Women of the Year Honors at the Labadi Beach Hotel, 7 p.m. sharp. Sponsors, Fidelity Bank, Believe With Us, Verve Clico, Savani Motors, Labadi Beach Hotel, the Bank of Africa, and Multimedia Group Limited. Media partners, DSTV and BNFT, with support from UNFPA Ghana and Innovate Advertising. For inquiries, call 050-158-1266. Ghana Women of the Year Honors. Women inspiring women.
Picture this: beaches with red, black and white pebbles, stunning sunset views and whitewashed houses. That is what you see when you picture the perfect Greek island, Santorini. And guess what? Adansi Travels and Joy 99.7 FM is giving you an opportunity of a lifetime to experience Santorini, which has been voted one of the most beautiful islands in the world. Join me, Araba Kumsin, for the 8th edition of the Discover the World Tour series from the 21st to the 31st May 2019. Not only only discover Santorini, but also get to see and feel Athens, the historical capital of Europe. And that's not all. We'll also have a 4-night stopover in Istanbul, where you'll have fun at the Violent theme park and a guided shopping tour to bring home the best goodies of Europe. The best part of this, it's so affordable. It's only $2,990 per person, and this covers return flights, accommodation, visa support, meals, tours, and so much more. Visit www.adancytravels.com to register or pick a form at the Joy FM front desk. Call Adancy Travels now at 055-631-0404 or 024-360-6648 to book. Give yourself that well-needed break and join me as we discover Greece and Turkey. It's going to be a holiday.
Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
10 minutes past 10 here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. Yes, it's 10 minutes past 10 and it's still the Super Morning Show because we are going till 11 a.m. today. That was the news on top of the hour, read by Mama V.O. Swabwaji. We're going to go back to the phone lines immediately and speak to Dr. Ebo Texan, who is an economist and lecturer at the University of Ghana. Now, yesterday we saw an image trending on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. People asking hashtag what's in your cup. This morning we realized it's from Dano Milk. What are they up to? Oh well, let's chat. Type in my cup is and let your keypad finish the sentence. Those of you drinking things will get to know. You can also join the conversation. Hashtag what's in your cup. Follow Dano Milk GH on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Enjoy your Dano Milk today. Be strong. Now, are you a tested and well-resourced salesperson? A reputable insurance company needs experienced salespersons at tactical and operational levels. Interested and qualified persons should send their CVs to prosper@cimghana.org to be engaged. CVs should reach us on or before this Friday, that's tomorrow, April 5, 2019. Limited spaces are available to be filled. Call 0244 40 50 10 for further inquiries. Okay, let me go back to Dr. Ebo Texan, who is on the line with us. Good morning, Doc, again.
Good morning.
Great. So earlier we were talking about the answer that Mr. Alan Chouemanting had to the question on job creation, speaking about how we are really talking about creating an environment, a macroeconomic environment that can support jobs before we can talk about the private sector creating jobs. Would you agree to that approach, that analysis?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when there's macro stability and the business community gains confidence in the economy, then they begin to invest to expand and to create jobs. So macro stability is very important for the private sector to create the jobs that we need. I mean, we should move beyond the public sector creating jobs. I've in the previous weeks mentioned that as we transit the IMF program, we shouldn't remove the cap on public sector employment. I mean, the others who are retiring, we can replace them, but we should be very careful we don't unnecessarily bloat the wage bill, because that is one of the main reasons why we tend to run those fiscal deficits that have led our economies to those levels where we need the IMF to come in. So, yes, macro stability is critical. That is the first thing that we need to ensure before the private sector, within an environment of stability and environment where the business environment is conducive for doing well, then businesses will begin to expand and they would by all means create the job that we need. Yes.
Here's the case, though, where we have started an industrialization plan and we have 79 factories at various stages of completion. Where do we situate that within the argument of waiting and creating an environment for businesses to thrive and grow?
I mean, we need to transform our economy. There's no doubt about it. And even as we've gone through this period of not too much, but I mean, it was quite significant depreciation of our currency, we've all said that, look, we need to become more export-oriented and import-dependent. How do we become export-oriented? When we begin to produce goods that we are importing. And the way in which we can do that is to enable the private sector to provide the import substitutes that will let Ghanaians become more export-oriented rather than import-dependent. And so while the macro indicators are getting better, of course, I mean, you can give credit to the IMF, what do you call it, external credit facility. You can give part credit to the NDC government that started the whole process in 2015. But as we speak, the indicators are much, much better than it was when we went to the IMF. And so within that environment of creating the enabling environment for businesses to thrive, I mean, one of the things, and I find this policy as the main policy of the MPP, that I think that is the way to go in transforming the structure of our economy, is the 1D, 1F. My only problem with that policy is that it's too much embedded in the party's manifesto rather than on our national development plan. And knowing what our past governments have done, if we don't take supporting there's a change in government, this policy will continue. But this is the policy that we need to transform our economy. So, yes, it's good for us to wait till we are able to ensure there's macro stability and then move ahead to entice the business investors to come into the economy. But look, Daniel, the main reason why we are becoming more import dependent than export oriented is the fact that most of our business firms are operating in a business environment that is not conducive. And so you have local firms who stop producing and rather also importing because it's cheaper to import than to produce here. So I think that the 1D, 1F and what is going on so far by this government is to ensure that they facilitate the process of reducing the cost of doing business in Ghana. So as these factories are being set up, the expectation is that all the necessary support that these industries need to become competitive, that support is being given them as we stabilize the economy. So that when the economy stabilizes, then you are expecting more of that foreign direct investment to come in. But we need to start. We need to create the jobs. We need to begin to produce what we are importing so that Ghanaians begin to consume what is made within the domestic economy so that the external sort of dependence is reduced, because that's the only way we can stabilize our currency.
Doc, it's because of statements like that you make, the reason we need to produce locally so that we can substitute the imports that we make. That some people criticize this reduction in benchmark value on imported goods, saying that it will be counterproductive for a nation that wants to encourage local industry.
I mean, what we also forget is that the encouragement, local industries also depend on imports. Some of their inputs have to be imported. I mean, so, yes, it looks like we are making imports cheaper. But the important thing to note is that these structural changes will take time to begin to bear fruit in the economy. But in the interim, as we are trying to do that, what do we also do to reduce the cost of goods in this country? I mean, nobody is saying that we shouldn't tax imports. We shouldn't collect duties on them. But it is important to make our ports very competitive, because when the volume of trade expands, we get more revenue. And don't forget that West Africa has the highest number of landlocked countries globally than any other part of this world. To what extent are we making our ports very friendly for our landlocked countries in West Africa to use our ports rather than our neighboring countries? To what extent are we reducing the cost of processes? The paperless port thing is doing well. But in terms of the import duty, I mean, when you import a car, at times it's crazy how much you pay in terms of duty. The values that are used to assess the duty of the car is not realistic, because you know very well that the values that are being used is not the value of the car. So it's good if we begin to look at the benchmarks that are used at the port to reduce the duty component. Now, it is not counterintuitive to what we are trying to do in terms of creating an enabling environment for our domestic industries to thrive. Because most of our domestic industries also import input. So it is also geared towards supporting them to have a reduction in their input, for them to add value, so that we begin to provide the necessary alternative to the import. So
there was rather a promise made by the Vice President for a removal of duties on, and in fact this was done later, a removal of duties on raw materials for production. That would be something that would directly go to the manufacturing industry and prop them up. At this point, you are making it more difficult for them to price their goods competitively, because imported goods will be more expensive, no?
Daniel, the reduction in the benchmark rate will not necessarily lead to a huge reduction in the prices of import. I mean, we know that in Ghana, there is normally prices are rigid downward. They're not. So it might not necessarily, for me, what is important is that we are ensuring that our ports become competitive. If we need to make Ghana the hub of trade in West Africa, that is the way to go. I mean, doing business, especially trading across borders, indicators show that Ghana is not competitive when you look at Abidjan and Lomé. Accra is not competitive. Takoradi is not competitive. So I'm looking at the extent to which we are putting our ports to the level that they become competitive with our neighboring countries, so that we can also ensure that trade facilitation improves. Because, I mean, if you take countries like China, it is the policies that have reduced trade costs across their borders, and that has ensured an improvement in trade facilitation measures. That has made China a main player in the global trading system.
Would it not rather be argued, Doc, just on the point of the example of China, would it not rather be argued that China is a hub of production, and so a lot of people go and buy from China, and that's why it's a trading hub in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, so, Daniel, all of these measures, I mean, could you imagine if a lot of people go and trade there, and trade facilitation measures, especially at the port, are very expensive? When the goods come out, they will not be competitive. So the point that I'm making is this: these are all measures that we can carry out to ensure that Ghana becomes a hub in West Africa. Not only because, you see, we need to take also advantage of the what do you call it, the landlocked countries that we have in the sub-region, so that they begin, because that will also create jobs. It will create jobs for us, especially in the situation where we are looking at linking Tema to the northern part of Ghana through a road line. That itself is going to create jobs. That itself is going to boost trade within the sub-region, and Ghana becomes a hub of that increase in trade within the sub-region. So to that extent, I'm okay with it. Now, we need to look at the reason why our domestic firms are not competitive. We shouldn't gloss over that and say that, okay, then let us have higher duties so that they become competitive. Our domestic firms are confronted with internal bottlenecks, and that is why they are not competitive. We should remove those bottlenecks and still go on to improve on trade facilitation by making our ports competitive. And our domestic firms will still be able to compete with the imports that come in. Don't forget that when Ghana becomes a trade hub, there's also going to be a lot of externalities even for our domestic firms in terms of the sort of goods that passes through our economy. That could also be a plus for them. So we shouldn't only be looking at the fact that our domestic firms are not competitive. So we should use trade taxes, import duties, to provide them that sort of shield so that they become competitive. We can do the two things at the same time. And I think that the 1D, 1F, if it's done properly, and our domestic firms are having a reduction in the cost of doing business within our economy, then no matter how much we reduce our import duties, they will still be competitive. I mean, we cannot because we have not reduced the cost of doing business in Ghana, to go on and then impose those duties. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, it's so archaic. I mean, we used to think that it was the very rich people who import cars, and therefore we put heavy duties on them. Now, cars are becoming a very necessary input for new production. And so
but you see, is that not part of the problem where we have democratized imports, and so many people need dollars in the system now? And so, because everybody is buying from abroad, is that not part of the problem why we are where we are?
Yes, but the import duties will not solve that problem. Rather, we need as much as possible to provide the support our domestic friends need. Access to credit. The cost of doing business in the country. I mean, I was excited when I heard him. I think I was driving. I heard him say something about the number of documents that you need to register your business and all of that. These are all very important indicators that impose cost of doing business in this country. We should be looking at reducing these costs, and our domestic friends will be competitive. We have friends in this country that can compete with friends in some of the advanced countries. It's just that the cost of doing business, the trade facilitation, in fact, for export, for instance, some of our friends at the factory gate are competitive when you compare them to some firms in the Western world. But by the time they ship their goods from their factory gate to the final consumer, wherever the consumer is, they are no longer competitive. It has to do with trade facilitation. So any measure that we carry out at our port to make sure that we facilitate trade is the way to go. Because if we need to turn our economy, the structure of our economy from import dependence to export orientation, it is trade facilitation that will ensure that we get
Okay, Doc, I want to ask the final question on this subject before we go. What do you think, what would you say is the net benefit of this policy on someone who buys goods in the market? So I don't import goods. I buy from Agbogbloshie or Mokola. How is this going to benefit me?
I mean, that is the point. I mean, some of these initiatives normally are laudable initiatives, but the question is, how does it get to the ultimate consumer who buys from the market? I mean, if the importers who decry the fact that import duties are high and the price of their goods are high, they cannot sell, then this is a time when the import duties reduce for them to begin to reduce their price, so that the average consumer will have a feel of what is going on. But in situations where importers normally do not reduce their prices that much, then you will see that whatever policy has been pursued will rather increase the profit margins of the importers and not necessarily go down to the final consumer. And what is important for us, I mean, it's something that if I had been, I would have asked the Vice President, is that what have we put in place in the current budget to make up for the revenue losses that are going to come from the reduction in the benchmark for import duty? Because don't forget that we rely on trade taxes. And I'm certain that in the 2019 budget, we have projected a level of trade taxes that was going to fund our budget. Now that we've reduced import duty benchmarks by 50%, it's going to reduce our tax revenue. What have we put in place? Because the volume effect of that policy is not going to be immediate.
Okay.
It's not going to be this year.
Okay.
Because if other importers elsewhere are thinking about using our port now because the duties are lower, it takes time for the volume effect to take place. In the immediate, as we start this policy today, what policies have we put in place to make up for the shortfall in revenue? Because the IMF has left. We should be very careful that we do not begin to pursue populist policies that will send our fiscal deficit back to where it was before the IMF came in.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ebo Texin, for joining us this morning. He's an economist and lecturer at the University of Ghana Economics Department, to be specific. It's 29 minutes past 10 here in the Super Morning Show. Enjoy 99.7 FM, the extended version of the Super Morning Show. I'm opening the phone lines in a moment. Were your expectations met at the town hall meeting addressed by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia? Were your expectations met? 0302 216 541 0244 340 437. I'm coming to Norvan for his answer to that question. Expectations, they were met?
Not really. I mean, if I want to put it that way, there are some few things I want to touch on, and I think that Dr. Ebo Texin and then Professor Bokpin have spoken about those things, but I just want to let you know what I also think about that. Now, when the question of job creation was put to the economic management team, the trade minister, that is Alan Kojo Tremantin, spoke on and on and on and on and on, not really able to tell us the exact figures in terms of what they have done. Invariably, what he was saying to us was, we've created the enabling environment, and so just wait and see what will happen. I mean, going into the future. That is the sense I was getting from him. But then you've created the enabling environment, and if we cannot have the manufacturing companies or that should, employ people, and if you cannot have even the existing ones employ more, then that's a problem as a country. So you ought to be able to work the engines and see what you're doing. Yes, they were telling us about one district, one factory. Good enough. They said 70 or 75 or
79.
79 are
at
in
various stages of completion. 35 have been appraised.
Appraised. Tell you what, if you're going to be setting up companies, and I've been saying this every now and then, that you would have foreigners put their money into it. What have you done at the end of the day? Because what is going to happen is, when they make the money will be repatriated back to the foreign countries.
Let me get Ernest from Kukom's thoughts on this subject before we go ahead. Ernest is calling us from Kukom. Good morning, Ernest.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
I am blessed. Were your expectations met?
Certainly not. Certainly not. For me, this whole discussion, I think one particular thing that I thought should have the VIP should have touched on was the state of public services. I mean, who are those who use public services? Okay? I mean, if the police are doing things right, if the hospitals have enough beds to cater for our mothers, if they have enough drugs to cater, I mean, this whole thing. And when you look at what is currently happening, look, I had wanted to acquire a passport. I paid for it. Went through the process. And when it was time for me to go for the passport, I did. Only to be told that, I mean, the whole thing is nowhere to be found. They've misplaced it. And they pleaded with me.
They've misplaced the passport?
Yes, because they told me the form. Even I was made to understand that the form wasn't forwarded. And it was nowhere to be found. And they were pleading with me to go and what? Buy another form. And that's the problem. You see?
Ernest, thank you very much for calling us. It's really, really an interesting issue that you raise. Uncle Kwame is on the line from Accra. We put out an online poll on Twitter asking you if you were satisfied with it. I'll be bringing you the results very soon. But Uncle Kwame, good morning.
Good morning. And I'm surprised that...
can you turn off the radio by you, please?
Yeah. Okay. I'm driving, and I just parked. So. Okay. I'm surprised that you journalists can be hoodwinked by this government. You know, there was so much falsehood about the Bawumia press conference. So much. And you are not discussing the falsehood this man peddled. And you are, it's like, I don't know. Even me, I know that what the taxes, the 50% and the 30% tax reduction is just going to be minute. I am not an economist, but at least the little I know about economy, believe me, for example, I went to China to buy a tie. Then I came down to Ghana to clear the tie. The government said, okay, Kwame, I said I paid $10 for that tie. The government said, no. When I check, you bought that tie for $14. So what incentive the government is now going to do is this? It's just going to reduce that $4 by half. Are you getting it? Just that $4 by half. So
okay,
you pay.
Uncle Kwame, because you see, we are on radio and you're informing the public. That's the explanation you have given now was given by Kezelato Forsen. It has been disputed. So the jury is still out on that. This morning we are at the we are at the Tema Port. We'll bring you what is happening there. The explanation as we have been given by government and by the Ghana Union of Traders Associations from the engagement with GRA is that the benchmark value itself would be halved. But of course, the benchmark value would not go below what it is. So, thanks anyway for calling, Uncle Kwame. Richard from Achimota has been on the line for a while now, so let me take him. Okay. Hi, good morning, Richard.
Hello. Good morning, Daniel. How are you?
I am blessed. Please turn off the radio. Let's hear you.
Great. Hey, Daniel, I think that what we should be doing, for example, we talk about repatriation of forex outside the country. Now, who approve the bet, what we call the sports person? Do they know how much is being sent outside? Because the youth are not working. All the money they make within a week or whatever, it goes into the betting. And this, they exchange the money in dollars and they take it to their country. They should look at it critically. The other thing that I wanted to hear was export. One of the major things that we have overlooked or haven't done right is export. For example, we have good climatic advantage in producing like palm oil. Now, this is a raw source of raw material all over the world. Malaysia makes about 30 billion a year from this. And they came for this plant from Ghana. You could just imagine that. So what we have to be doing is to go into that, and then we can use even part of the palm oil in case of high rise of crude. We can cut it and use it to subsidize our diesel. So we need that we are maintaining all this forex exchange in Ghana. These are the things we want to see, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, for calling. Sam is calling from Tesano. Good morning, Sam. Hi, Sam. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, Dan.
Great. Let's hear you.
Yeah, Dan. I think this vice president's lecture is a well-rehearsed one. Well, at least the little fact-checking that you have done this morning with Raymond, if I could count, the falsehood are more than the truth. And you agree with me on that. I think when the vice president made this comparison that, according to his own words, the CD depreciation for the NDC was, he calculated it from 2011 to 2016. And he gave us 13 plus something %. And they have done just 2 years. And the CD has depreciated by 8 point something %, almost 8.5, right? So if we give them, or we leave this, we compare this for the next 4 years, how much are they going to do? How much depreciation will we get in the CD? And I think the vice president, to be frank with you, he's in a wrong profession. He should have been a comedian. And we would love to pay him.
Sam.
Hello.
Yes. So in the vice president's submission, I have it in front of me. He analyzed it for every year. So for 2014, for instance, the total for 2014 was 31%, and then 8.9% is for this year. So I don't know. So he has 4 different figures. Yeah, so I have the graph here. 5 different figures from 2012 to 2016.
Which one is he comparing? We have done 2 years, so we want to see.
No, good. So what I'm telling you, for instance, is that it's here. 2012 is 17.5%. 2013 is 14.5%. For that year alone, 2014 is 31.2%. 2015 is 15.7%.
What have they done in 2017 and 2018?
So 2017 alone is 4.9%. 2018 alone is 8.4%. 2019 so far, with 2019 is not a full year, so it's not even fair to use that figure. But it's 5.12% for this period.
And the greatest depreciation or the greatest shock we are having now is in 2019. So
yes,
by the end of 2019, we could see how much they will make.
Yeah, but but we have more months in front of us. You see, I mean, just to help your argument, okay? Because I have to go to George and Aoshi, but just to help your argument, you see, for 2019, we have a lot more months ahead of us than what has happened. What we are talking about, the biggest shock is in March 2019. So if we want to look at annual figures, for instance, and we want to compare, but you see, the argument is the culture of comparison is what is killing us. You see. Because if we say we want to compare, it may not be.
That you have done so far, the fact checking that you have done so far, you have not done everything. You have just given us just a gist of every what you have done.
That's true. That's true. You have not done every.
According to your own presentation, now the force should have more.
But I also have to fact check what you say. You see, so we have fact checked the vice president. I also have to fact check what you say. But anyway, thank you. I have to move to George from Aoshi. He's been on the line for a little while. Good morning, George.
Hello, Dan.
Yes, George, your radio is loud. Okay, turn it off. Let's hear you.
Yeah, hello.
Hi. Yes, you're on air. Let's hear you.
Yeah. My problem is with this benchmark value. Who determines the benchmark value on the import?
So it's predetermined by the Ports and Harbours Authority. The ports. Let me say it like that. It's predetermined at the ports.
Okay. So then, when you import and you tell the port that you import a certain commodity at, let's say, $10, and then they come and tell you that per their checks, it is $30. Do you get my point? And then they half it. It becomes $15.
Yes.
So in that case, there hasn't been any reduction.
Well, there has been a reduction of $15, hasn't there?
No, because they determined the $30 for you. You told them you bought it at 10. And now they have predetermined the benchmark value and place it at $30. I hope you are getting my point.
Yes.
Once there is no negotiation between you and them to come to that price level, and the onus lies on them to determine the benchmark value, then they can always come up with their own figure. I hope you are getting the point that I'm making.
I'm getting the point you are making. But you see, George, is it not the case that you were going to pay taxes on $30 initially, whether or not you negotiate? You were going to pay taxes on a higher figure. Now you are going to pay taxes on a lower figure.
No.
So you were not going to pay taxes on a higher?
If I understand the setting of the benchmark value well, right? You import something and the price of it is $10.
Yes.
Then they go on the market and tell you that no,
it's $30.
Our checks, it is $30.
Yes.
So it means initially what you are supposed to pay the taxes on is on the $10. But they have come in now to tell you that it is $30.
Yes.
And then they will have it.
And so now, so what was happening is that initially you were paying on $30 because they tell you
$10.
No, you were paying on $10. The benchmark value is a benchmark that is placed. You cannot go below that benchmark. So if I come in, you see, all of this, like Norman was saying earlier, all of this is because there is a lack of trust in the figures that the traders were bringing. Let me give you an example. You buy an auction car from abroad, or you buy an accident vehicle from abroad, right? You buy it for $4,000, but they tell you that for a Hyundai Elantra, for want of a better, let me just use that as an example. For this model of car from this year, I expect you to pay $20,000 for it. They will not put it below $20,000. That $20,000 becomes a benchmark value. It will not go below that benchmark. So you pay all your duties on $20,000. Now, this time they are saying that for every benchmark value they have, they are putting it down to half. So now, if it's 20,000, it's now 10,000. When you come, you will pay your duties on 10,000. You get what I'm saying? Because we all have deals that is able to get us a lower price. But then again, the port says that when we come, no matter which price you got it at, you are going to pay the duties on my benchmark value. And that's what it means. I have to take my last caller. His name is Kofi Bajumba from Kumasi. Good morning, Kofi.
Yeah, good morning, Daniel. How are you?
I am blessed. How are you?
I'm fine. Daniel, was the Vice President addressing the nation or he was addressing party supporters? Because yesterday I could hear cheers and claps for him. Whatever he said received cheers and claps. But you see, Daniel, sometimes it is very, very interesting the way and manner politicians take us for granted. Look at what Vice President said about the cedi depreciation. He was quoting percentages. But me sitting here who don't know anything about economy, all that I know is that in the previous government, cedi was being purchased for 4 cedis, and now it's 5 cedis plus. So what has percentage got to do with this? And you come and tell us that you compare 2012, 2013, the percentage is this, so you are doing well, when everybody knows that the cedi keeps on galloping and galloping. I mean, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kofi, for calling us. Kofi Banyuma is a caller from Kumasi. It's 16 minutes to the top of the hour. I don't know how the time flies when you're having the show, but it's almost 11. I'm going to give the final words. We have a conversation with our friends on autism. Very important conversation we'll be bringing you before the show wraps up. But let me wrap up with Mame and Novan. We've been quite quiet, I should say, in the past 5 hours. But listening very intensely. So I'll give final comments to Novan first.
I think that we need to get things right as a people. If you look at paragraph 67, and when it comes to the trade hub, when we said, okay, we are trying to digitize, a lot of the things that we do. The vice president said something. He said, to deal with the lack of information on the status of consignment and the duty payment, a mobile app has been developed to enable importers check the status of their consignment and the import duty payable online. And then he told us about the Ghana Trade Hub. And the Ghana Trade Hub is an app that was put together by West Blue Consult. But if for you to know, Daniel, it's important for us to also put out there that the Ghana Single Window app has always been there. It's also an app that has been there that you could use, and that was also put up by the GCNet. Okay. And these are the two institutions that are helping to do this. And I was surprised when he just mentioned the Ghana Trader Hub, and I was like, okay, well, I know that this is West Blue Consult. They put that up there, and GCNet also have. So why would you want to just put one out there and not put the other? What is going on, with these things? Let's try to ensure that we put the right information there. Yes, but let's make sure that as a people, as far as the cedi is concerned, we get it right. Let's restructure our economy. Let us know that even as much as we're reducing these things, we have an economy that we want to build, the manufacturing sector, ensure that we rather export than to do more import. Okay. These are things that we should bear in mind to ensure that we don't end up, now building more of an import-based economy
than an export one. Thank you very much, Novan. And Mame, finally.
Yes, and then I think I'll just say that I hope that with our government, whether it's whichever government will come into power, we need to make plans and solutions that are not politicized but are long-term. And we need to go beyond the whole party politics and think of really what the issue is at hand and how we can work towards making a substantial change. And I just want to end with this quote by the World Bank. It says, development, we need development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. That's what we need in Ghana. And so I want to just say that I hope that, and one even last thing, this is to the Ghana Revenue Authority. We've heard about multinationals that are evading tax heavily, and we could be making billions of dollars from these companies through taxes, but they are evading taxes, and they've been asked to do something about it. I want to just put it out there that there has to be more. We can generate revenue by taxing these multinationals that are making huge sums of profit, and then invest that money back into our local industries to make the domestic industry do run better. So yes, I just want to end with that and just say I hope for a better Ghana. Thank you.
All right. I hope for a better Ghana too. Thank you very much, Mame Dakwa Winado and Novan Akwa Hayford. I'm going to take this quick batch of messages. My guests for my next conversation are already here. Baba Enchil, founder of Hope